Guys, I have to get this out to you as quickly as possible because things are escalating in Ethiopia with the Fentale Volcano in the Awash region. And what is happening, guys, and if you've been following my channel for quite a while, we know if a few things are happening together, this is alarming. And what we're seeing here, you know, we've had some cracks opening up. We've had some homes collapse. Now, just today, another 5.1 magnitude earthquakes. Over 30 homes have collapsed. People are in panic. They've been running out of their villages and their homes, fleeing, trying to find safe ground, running. So that is the only thing that we can say about the earthquakes. It's really terrifying for the locals. But where are these earthquakes coming from? And you know, earthquakes plus something else, and that is a land rise, land lifting up, land rising, because there's something going on underneath, a magma chamber that is filling up with magma, getting ready to let the magma erupt to the surface. And that's what's happening around the Fentale volcano. This is a dangerous volcano that is waking up from a 200-year sleep, dormancy, so to speak. So a massive ground uplift has now been detected. And we've been seeing this earthquake swarms for over a week now, like 5.1, 5.1, 4.9, 4.8, one after the other in this region. You can see it on the maps, the cluster of these earthquakes. They could be felt even in the capital, Addis Ababa. People are writing, they feeling it, it's shaking, it's scary. So what is happening right now? We're seeing earthquakes and we're seeing ground uplift in this region that is called Awash region. There's also a national park. And the local newspaper has reported today over 30 homes collapse as in Afar. That's the city that you see here on the map. As the earthquakes intensify in the Awash Fentale area, and thousands of people are fleeing to neighboring areas seeking refuge. So let's talk about the earthquake first, and then we'll talk about the land rise underneath the volcano. And you see the pictures here. These are homes that have collapsed, and of course this raises panic amongst the people, right? So the residents of this Awash Fentale region have reported that over 30 homes have collapsed, and maybe even more will collapse due to the frequent earthquakes that have been appearing over quite a period of time now. And with every earthquake, the structures get damaged more, and that's forcing people to flee their homes. And guys, in my last video, check this out, I have reported about a dam that is a brand new dam, the largest dam of Africa, that could collapse because of these earthquakes and cause an absolute disaster. And then I've gotten comments underneath this video that I'm working for the Egyptian government, and it has to be sure you're working for the Egyptian government because the Egyptians have opposed that dam because they're storing so much water from the Nile. And they didn't want that, but the Ethiopians went through with this. And now they have filled up that dam to the highest level, which makes it even more vulnerable to earthquakes. And then many people said, oh, the earthquakes, this is so far away from this area. Yes, it is far away, roughly 600 kilometers. But professors, scientists, engineers are saying, if we see earthquakes in the Awash Fentale Addis Ababa area, in the high 5 ranges or 6 ranges, this could be critical for the dam. And if the dam breaks, this would affect millions and millions of people. I've said it in my last video, so check it out. And I'm not an Egyptian, and I'm not working. It's getting ridiculous, guys. But earthquakes. So a resident has given a local report that these recurring earthquakes in the Awash Fentale region and in the Dulecha districts, that's also in this area, you see it on the map, have caused widespread property damage, particularly in Zegento Kebele of Dulecha district, where the Kesem sugar factory and the Kesem dam are. There's multiple dams in that area, not only just the biggest one of Africa, the Great Renaissance Dam. There is the Kesem Dam, and that also has a capacity of holding 500 million cubic liters. So these parts of the infrastructure, they are located in what they call the area that is most affected by the earthquakes. And that is the Segento Kebele district in Dulecha. So the damage is extensive. These are the local reports that we're just receiving. And then the second most affected area is the Awash Fentale district. So houses are collapsing day by day with every new earthquake, and they keep coming. It's not that we only have one 4.8 per day. We have multiple per day, up to 7 or even more, and they're going into the 5 range. So local report from a resident said it's not only the residential homes that are damaged. Several schools in the area have been severely affected. The Ungayatu school, that's located in the Sabure Kebele of the Awash Fentale district, has sustained significant destruction. So private homes, but also public infrastructure. So of course they're saying as a result, the teaching and the learning activities have been disrupted since yesterday, because that's when this building was finally giving up. And what that resident is also reporting is that this ongoing crisis that they're seeing there has forced many people, particularly those people from this Dulecha district near the Kesem sugar factory, to flee to nearby safer locations. So it probably also has an economical impact right now. But these are just the earthquakes, right? There's a volcano that is waking up, which is the much bigger threat. But we always know the earthquakes come ahead of a volcanic eruption. So what is this resident saying? He says the entire community around the sugar factory has abandoned their homes. People are fleeing with whatever belongings they can carry, heading towards Awash Seba town. And those who can't afford it, they're using vehicles. Others are escaping on foot through the wilderness. This is what you have to imagine. This is complete panic there right now. Rural communities are loading their belongings onto camels, and they're leaving with their livestock. I mean, I think it's kind of good that they're leaving, because if the volcano erupts, that would have hit them immediately, right? So what this resident also has said, that the zone 3 of this Afar region, which includes the Awash Seba town as well as Fentale and the Dulecha districts, is experiencing a major crisis. So a major crisis due to these ongoing earthquakes. So what the resident described is asphalt cracking due to the tremors. We've seen this in Grindavik, right? And the fissures are expanding over time. They're getting larger, deep cracks. Then also water's gushing out of these cracks. Even inside residential homes, there's these cracks, and the situation continues to worsen. Then another resident reported that similar earthquakes had occurred 3 months ago, but now they have reoccurred at a much larger scale. And I've reported 3 months ago, but now it's escalating. Much larger scale, this resident is reporting in Sabure, Bolika, Kebena, and Arbihara. And he says, in particular, the depth of the cracks in the asphalt between Arbihara and Bolika is extremely severe. And most of the population in the Dulecha district, especially members of the Arbeha Adar community, have been fleeing to the Awash Seba and Argoba area. And also this resident raised concerns about the Kesem Dam. He says there's rumors of its potential collapse. And that has also caused even more widespread alarm in the already shaken community. And guys, these are news that are coming right out of Ethiopia. So on the night of Sunday, December 28th, many people have abandoned their homes and belongings to flee the area. And what the residents are saying, there's an urgent need for authorities to prioritize the situation in the affected areas. They need help. Because this has been going on since late September last year. It's already last year. It's 2025 now. So September 2024, the Awash Fentale Volcano area, Fentale Mountain, a stratovolcano, is an earthquake-prone zone. And it has experienced an ongoing series of seismic events. Initially, they have classified them as minor and they said, yeah, nothing to worry about. But now, the intensity of these earthquakes in the region has increased in the following weeks. And guys, you have to understand, I got a comment underneath my last video that says, well, girl, you're freaking out about 4.8 and 5.1 magnitude earthquakes and you're living on the Cascadia Fault. Guys, tectonic earthquakes with high magnitudes, yes, that's something completely different than volcanic earthquakes. We've had earthquakes magnitude 2.7, 2.8, and then we saw an eruption in Iceland. So the volcanic earthquakes do not have to go to 7 or 8 or 6 even to cause a volcanic eruption. It's the earthquake swarms, and then if they intensify plus a land rise, that could hint towards a volcanic eruption. And that's why these earthquakes are concerning. They are in a high range for that volcano. At Campi Flegrei in Italy, the supervolcano, they have been rattled because of a 4.2. So earthquakes intensified since September, and then 4.9 magnitude in early October, which was already alarming because this quake was not only felt in the Awash Fentale area, but also as far as the capital of Ethiopia, the Addis Ababa city. And that has caused widespread concern in October already. And then subsequent earthquakes have continued to be recorded, with tremors reaching Addis Ababa, Afar, Dar Dawa, and surrounding areas. So shaking areas with thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. So they say in November, they thought, is it slowing down? The seismic activity in the region has remained relatively mild in November, but then in December it has escalated, again culminating in a 5.1 magnitude earthquake that has struck the Awash area in late December last year. And then this quake that was December 29th was one of 7 large tremors that were registered on December 29th, and that has signaled that this is an active seismic period, a seismic swarm. And the epicenter was located approximately 40 kilometers from Awash town. So there is, of course, the East African rift system going through there. That's one of the world's most geologically active features. So experts have said, well, it could be that these seismic events could be attributed to the East African rift system. But the problem is we have a volcano waking up that is showing a rapidly escalating land rise. It's like Iceland. The East African rift zone, it's an immense rift that is constantly stretching and basically tearing the African continent apart, which is causing frequent seismic activity and volcanic eruptions. And that's the problem. That's what the head of the seismology and earthquake geotechnical engineering unit at the Addis Ababa University has explained. So the Earth's crust is fracturing and that is being pulled apart. That is triggering these frequent seismic events and the volcanic eruptions. And what they're saying, this is already leaving an incredible scar, an incredible mark on the Ethiopian landscape. So in these rift zones, like, large destructive earthquakes are fortunately rare, and smaller tremors are a regular occurrence in Ethiopia, but now we're seeing bigger ones. And speaking of the Great Renaissance Dam, in 1906, there was a 6.8 earthquake caused by this African rift zone. So this is a reminder that this area has serious seismic potential. And getting back to the Great Renaissance Dam, experts have said anything over 6 is critical. Doesn't happen often, but as we have this active seismic storm right now, it's alarming. And this area is really not observed quite well with permanent seismic stations or something like this, like Campi Flegrei or Iceland. So the experts don't really know exactly how many earthquakes we're dealing with. They can maybe get the big ones, but there might be underlaying hundreds and hundreds of earthquakes. So the USGS, the US Geological Survey, they're trying to monitor this area with satellite pictures. They said that since September 2024, 50 earthquakes have been recorded, but these are the large ones. There's probably thousands, even more. And the magnitudes of these 50 were ranging from 4.3 to 5.2. So that total includes 5 earthquakes registered in September. Then they increased to 8 in the whole month of October. November was relatively mild with 3 earthquakes, and then it has intensified this December with 36 tremors. But again, only the big ones, the small ones we can't measure. So the residents have just said today in an interview, one resident described the current situation as very dire. He said that many people from Duha, Kebele, in Awash, Fentale have abandoned their homes and belonging. They have left it behind, making their way to Awash Siba. That is approximately 43 kilometers away. And I'm glad that they're leaving, because if Fentale erupts, they would be so much at risk. So many refugees are arriving in the other areas. So those who can afford it are renting homes. Others are staying with relatives. So most of those who fled arrived with nothing except their children and immediate family members. So they're completely stuck without anything. The chief administrator of Awash Fentale has told the news that the recent earthquakes echoes a similar incident that they had when it started in September, that has also caused significant damage. But he pointed out that the current earthquakes have brought more and new challenges to the area. So he confirmed the school has been damaged, disruption of classes, a mosque in Duha Kebele has suffered structural damage. So he says at present, a technical team composed of experts from health, education, women and children's affairs, agriculture, and security officers is working to raise awareness and provide support for the affected community. They have to get out the farmers around the volcano. That, I think, is most important, because they said, we live here. We don't want to leave our livelihood behind. We don't want to leave our animals behind. So they also say that in addition to what they're doing there, they're also collaborating with non-governmental organizations that are active in the region to relocate vulnerable groups to safer areas. And sorry guys for the noise, it's raining really hard. I'm in an RV. For those of you who watch my channel every day or on a regular basis, you know I had to travel to the US to save my dog's life for radiation therapy. If you want to learn more about that, guys, check out my playlist, RV Travel to Save My Dog. And if you want to help with the monstrous vet bill that I'm facing, go to my buymeacoffee.com/silky website. The link is in the description of this video. There you can help this channel and Apollo right now. So thanks for that. So the rain doesn't stop. The forecast, it's going to be like this for the next 3 days, and it's going on the roof of this RV. It's not insulated very well, so that's why it's so loud. So this chief administrator has further said that coordinated efforts are underway with regional and federal disaster prevention commissions to effectively address that ongoing crisis. And I hope that this is really happening. There's been some people from Ethiopia who have commented, said that the government's doing nothing. So I hope that all these people are getting help. It's not nice to start the new year like that. So depending on what the volcano is doing, I think, we could see stronger earthquakes, tremors could subside. Let's look at the volcano Fentale. These strong earthquakes near that Fentale volcano spark eruption concerns in Ethiopia. You can sweet talk it. Volcanologists are saying the risk of a new volcanic eruption in this part of the African rift zone is now higher than before, because the most likely cause of these earthquakes that are shallow is a magma intrusion, magma rising up towards the surface, and that can easily turn and break the surface and produce an eruption. That's why the scientists are urging the people to be on alert. And as I just said, if you look at the reports of the residents in nearby town, they reported tremors throughout the whole night. So that indicates that there's the likelihood of numerous smaller quakes that couldn't be detected with any instruments by global seismic networks, because they do not have local seismic stations in place. The global seismic networks only can get the higher ones. The scientists do think that this heightened seismic activity is linked to shallow magma coming towards the surface underneath the Fentale volcano, and that's why this could trigger an eruption. So communities, that's what experts are warning, that communities within the affected area should remain on alert. The epicentral regions have experienced over 7 tremors in one day. I just mentioned that, right? And they also suggest the actual number of earthquakes is probably higher. So a team from a local geological survey is conducting an expedition in the region, and they reported feeling multiple tremors in Awash town situated near the epicenters. So this activity, and that's the scary part, is consistent with the historical behavior of the Fentale volcano, which last erupted in 1820, and it has produced basaltic lava flows from a fissure on its southern flank at that time. But in addition, as I said it, to these earthquakes, a massive ground uplift has been detected. So we have the earthquakes and the ground uplift in the Awash region. And of course, this causes major concern. Just this morning, another tremor, 5.1, epicenter 39 kilometers northwest of Awash. It is believed to be a shallow earthquake. They have made a satellite picture that measures the land rise underneath Fentale, and a researcher has discovered this massive land rise. So it's called an interferogram. And you see this picture here. It shows a zone of ground deformation over an area of 50 kilometers that runs parallel to the course of the East African Rift Zone. So it begins at Lake Bazaka and then skirts the Fentale volcano, and it ends just before the Dolphin Shield volcano. There's many volcanoes along that rift, right? You see it here on the map. So you see these colored rings in this interferogram. So they indicate a ground deformation of 28 millimeters. So in total, more than 30 centimeters of deformation, of land rise. That means the magma is filling up. The volcano's blowing up a balloon underneath that is lifting up the ground. So what they can see from this image so far, the evidence points that this is a ground uplift, a continuing and escalating ground uplift. They're saying this looks a little bit like a butterfly That could have been caused by magma intruding in the upper layers. And in other places, they have, in addition, some isolated new ring patterns that they observed that could also indicate that there is locally ground uplift and locally the formation of another magma body. Not every magma intrusion ends in a magmatic eruption, but it could, and that's the problem. The Ethiopian media is not talking about a volcanic eruption yet. I have just reported to you what they're saying. They're talking about the earthquakes, about the dam, about structural damage, but they're just saying this activity is described of tectonic nature, so linked to movements along the Rift Valley. But really, it would be more likely that this could be volcanic. And I have described to you in my previous videos what an eruption of the Fentale volcano would mean. So check out these videos in the end screen. It's very, very interesting. But other things are happening as well. So subscribe to my channel. I would love to see you again. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for supporting this channel and supporting Apollo right now. Many of you have asked for an update. So the side effects of the radiation therapy are starting to kick in. He's very itchy in his throat. I have to be so careful walking him because he wants to eat everything. And I'm talking about plastic, rocks, cigarettes, everything that's on the ground. He thinks if he eats that, it'll ease the itching. He's already getting medication for that, but it seems to be really, really bothering him. And they told me that this is going to happen. One eye is very teary and running and stuff like this. So he's not a happy camper right now, but he's getting more lively. He's barking again. So I'm very, very hopeful. And the air that he's breathing right now, you know where I am. My members definitely know where I am. It's good for him. So yeah, let's hope for the best. Thanks for supporting him. I'm so, so grateful for the supers and the coffees. And again, if you want to support the channel, the link is in the description. Thank you, guys. I see you very soon.